Welcome to Good News York. It's me, Mike Brindisi, sponsored by Ads on the Go, getadsonthego.com. Matt is not with me. I don't know. He's off hurdling cattle today. I don't know what he's doing. I never know what he's doing. But I'm here alone. It's just me and you. Well, kind of, because I have a very special guest today. I feel like that, I guess you guys could call nepotism on me here for a second, because we had my sister on last week. And now I would like to welcome my cousin, filmmaker, author, lighting designer, and again, my cousin, Ed Charrette. Via satellite. Ed, welcome to the show. It's funny. We've been doing this since the first of the year, and we've had dozens of guests. And it wasn't until the other night when you and I, you were promoting your latest feature film, which is entitled First Draft. And long story short, you had sent me the link, and I wanted to watch it. And as I started the movie, I went, "Why the fuck haven't I had my cousin on yet?" The show, Good News York, obviously focuses on awesome people doing awesome things in New York State. And you've been doing it for a long time, man. So welcome to the show.
So thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, of course, man. So I wanted to start off by just kind of giving the people a little bit of background on everything that you've done and you're doing. I did say filmmaker, lighting designer, author. I know you from Back on Clock Productions, which is your production company.
Indeed.
And I was lucky enough to be cast in one of your films. First, The Thin Line.
The Thin Line, yeah.
One of my favorite experiences in my my acting work, if you will. But take me back to, we never really, as much as we're cousins, we've never had a chance to just sit and kind of talk about life and how things began. How did you start getting into film? What was your first, the first moment where you're like, holy shit, like this is what I want to do? And who did it for
you? Well, I mean, that was, wow, geez.
Like two lifetimes ago, right?
I might have been, like 16 years old, maybe, seeing Miller's Crossing, Joel and Ethan Coen's,
Yep.
that was the one that was like, okay. And I just fell in love with it. It was like, it was that time of life where people were like, what are you going to do with your life? I was like, I think I'm going to be a filmmaker. And then, however many years later, I went to school for psychology because I chickened out, Every person that I met was like, what are you going to do? I had people in my life saying, what are you going to do? Graduate and be Steven Spielberg? I was like, yeah, I guess not, So, I believed them, but it's something. And then I tried to do I would manage movie theaters. I did a bunch of stuff where I was trying to make money, but at the end of the day, this always kept coming back. You know what I mean? So I just had to I wasn't sane unless I was chasing this demon, if you will.
Oh, buddy. I try to explain that to people that aren't in entertainment, that, people don't understand. Like the other day, a buddy of mine was like, why was Ozzy just like, when he was sick, why did he keep touring? And I went, I don't think you understand that touring was the thing that kept him alive. When you're a true artist, and it sounds dramatic, but I know you get it. When you're a true artist, if you're not doing what you do, whether that's performing stand-up comedy or acting or directing, I mean, you feel like you're dying. I remember I saw Henry Rollins do spoken word in Ithaca. He came up like a decade ago. And it was stand-up comedy, but it was spoken word. And he talked about how, when he would get off the road and he had time between recording or touring, his manager would check on him to make sure he didn't jump off a roof, because it's, you feel like you're dying. And you, out of many people I've worked with, have always come across to me as a true artist in every form. And
thank you.
What I did notice is that as much as you love writing and directing, you do kind of, whether it's a bit part or a lead role, you like to act in your own films. Is that something, like it's an itch that you want to scratch? Or
no. Well, when I was younger, I was such a ham. And then I'd shot a bunch of videos with friends, and it was just a thing because me and my friends would have comedy bits and shit that we do, and I was pretty funny. I always got laughs,
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that. But once I got more into the filmmaking end of things, I kind of made sure to cut myself out. The only reason I'm the star of this feature-length movie is because my lead actor had a panic attack the night before and had to bow out. So
Really?
But it was my fault a little bit because I was like trying to psych him up. Like, man, this is it. This is our dream. We're going to do this. We got this. I really psyched him out.
You forced him into a panic.
Where is he? Yeah. So I was like, all right.
That's fantastic. You hear about directors. They all have different methods, right? And I think you did the right thing, right? You're like, okay, I got to get my lead actor revved up. You revved him up so much that he went into a full-blown panic attack and you had to play the role. That is a way fucking better story than what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Well, you did a phenomenal job. I want to talk about First Draft. Now, this is your first and only feature length at the moment?
At the moment, yes. We had shot The Thin Line back in the day to try to get funding for the full length.
Yeah.
But that never happened. And it was like not shortly after that I had already put this into motion. It's been a long time. I even shot a little bit of it and then ended up throwing it out because I didn't like what I had and restarted basically. I don't know. How
did the inspiration and idea start with First Draft? Was this an idea you had for years? Is it something you put the pen to the paper and it just came out? How did it all come about? And it's really good, by the way.
Thank you.
I love it.
I did. So in I want to say the late 90s, there was a thing in New York City called the Gotham Writers Workshop.
Yeah.
And it was like those you see the little yellow things next to the newspapers that say, And I took sitcom writing class, and they taught you how to, we had to write a sample script of Frasier, and all these students would sit around like with the comedy table, and they tried to make it as real as possible.
Like a spec script? Like your own episode, a spec script?
You had to write your own episode, right? So basically it was a lot of like pitching ideas and them saying, no, that sucks, or no, you can't do it. Just a lot of that. But one of the things he did was spell out the 7-stage story structure that they use for it. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool to do a movie about a writer and show the 7-stage story structure? You
mean like is it the hero's journey? That one? That structure?
No, not the circle, like the 8-wheel that Dan Harmon kind of like popularized.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
There was a 7-stage structure back in the day that was more like sitcom formula back. The teacher of the class was a writer on like All in the Family, Good Times, all that stuff. So anyway, there was that. So I had the idea and it just sat there. And then over the years, I ended up being like a novelist. Like I wrote novels because, you don't have enough money to make movies or people around. So sometimes I got to do something. So I ended up writing and kind of fell in love with the process of writing and what that's about. How do you freaking finish, something, how do you finish a novel? You know what I mean? Like, how do you do that? So it's like when it's time to come to make a movie, I might as well do it about something that I'm passionate about and that I spent a decade doing. I might as well, just do something about that. And it seemed easy enough to do. Like, oh, it's a low budget movie. I could do it ended up being a little harder, but a little more money than no budget. But whatever.
Yeah, I find that in your movies, as I said, I got to be a part of The Thin Line. And I just watched First Draft, which I love that you put the Easter eggs in there. I'm actually in First Draft because you put The Thin Line on a television in the background in one scene, and then you put it on a projection screen in probably my favorite scene in the movie.
I own the rights to it, and I can't really use any other.
No, it was whatever. I loved it because then I'm watching this movie, and I'm like, it's so strange when you see yourself in a movie that you didn't know you were in. And then, I showed my kids and I was like, remember the movie Dad was in? And I showed them a couple scenes from that. And I'm like, well, check this out. I show them the other movie and I say, and that movie's inside this movie. They didn't even know what the fuck I was saying. And I was like, look, I'm in the credits. I'm guy on screen. But anyway, one thing I do know.
Somebody saw it and said there's a theory that because Todd is in the movie and is playing in his apartment, that he's actually the crazy guy at the end.
Okay.
Todd playing himself.
So, you know what? I see these podcasts now and clips of people that they try to tie a character together through multiple movies that they've been in, like it's an ongoing story. So that checks out. You could he was in both. I love that. But one thing I've known about you, and I hope I'm not revealing anything I'm not supposed to reveal, but I feel like in both The Thin Line and in First Draft, definitely in The Thin Line, you've told me that there are elements to the film that is a reflection of maybe who you really are or something you've been through. It's very personal to you. Is that something that is unintentional, intentional? Do you kind of inject, because look, songwriters write songs about experiences they've had. Do you find that you kind of base your scripts and your films off of you or situations you've been in?
Oh yeah, without question. I mean, that's The Thin Line, especially my whole big thing about mental health and just trying to get it more just trying to get talked about more openly and whatever. And it was a way of dramatizing it and making it something different. The full-length screenplay ended up being a lot different, and it's not like that portion that the character you played was loosely based on me.
Yeah.
And I actually, in the script, I think your name was Lewis Craft, and somebody told me a long time ago that was the soap opera name, is how you do your middle name and the street you grew up on. So I grew up on Craft Avenue, and it was Edward Lewis Charrette.
I thought that was. I was always told that's your porno name. Is your middle?
Yeah. Apparently
I was
Anthony
Mohawk.
Porno name. Right.
I'm Anthony Mohawk.
Right.
I remember my friend was
funny.
like William Route 5, and I was like, that's not a great name for a porno.
Well, it'd be funny now that everybody knows what it. That's the thing.
Sure.
But yeah, I did. Obviously put myself in there, and then even with First Draft, there's scenes where I'm driving massage girls around. Like I was driving strippers around, being the bouncer for a little bit, trying to, keep the rent paid. And that's where that kind of inspiration came from. And you deciding I was going to be doing a theme in the movie where it's like, writing is a lonely life. And so every relationship should be like, he only, Jesus, I got to shut my phone off. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Can't even hear it.
And it just, it's like he gets life advice from, escorts, or all his relationships are these like transactional nothingness thing, because he's the life of a writer. Anyway, went off on a tangent. But yes, I put myself in there.
And I want to talk about that more in a second, the escort thing, because I thought that was brilliant. But, I don't remember at what point of filming when I was in The Thin Line with you that I had heard that my character was based off of you. But I remember it was after we had already started filming, and I think I was grateful because I almost think that would have made me play the character different. Like I was really moved that you would cast me to play you-ish. I think the character was portrayed, I think it was portrayed to me as it could have been you. Had you had lost your handle on your mental health, that could have been you. But either way, I just remember being very emotional about that, thinking, wow, this is a big responsibility to play. You're playing the director and you didn't even know. But I'm almost glad you didn't tell me, because I thought maybe I would play the character right. There are a lot of methods in the way that different directors do. Do you have certain methods you use that maybe you've learned from other directors, or that you do on your own that you could be considered unorthodox? Are there some weird methods you use when you're filming or shooting?
Back then I did. I was a little more like trying to, I don't know how other directors really do it. I have seen a handful, and a lot of it is live event stuff now, so different, the directors I work with. But back then I would do some things that were a little more, I had heard things from different directors. Like there was one where there was a scene where I wanted the girl to feel more uncomfortable. She was sitting there, so I took a handful of rocks and put it under her. So when she sat down, she was just a little like, things like that I just heard about. I was like, let's try it.
That's
I think I overtalk too much. Like I've learned to just let the actor do their thing, and then if I have notes, say something. But I always try to just like, here's the trick I do, almost every time. So like, cause I set up the lights and I'm the guy, I shoot it, and I'm just like, this is not. I always say this is not a real take. I just need to adjust the lighting. So please just run it one time. So it gets them super relaxed and they don't care. I often end up using that take if the lighting is good.
Yeah, you fucking did that to me many times.
Yeah. That's the thing,
That's No, but that's exactly what I was asking. What you're talking about, the rocks, that was the kind of inside stuff I'm talking about.
I think it also helps when I'm like, hell, I'm just doing this to check the lighting, and then I'll play around for a bit, and everybody maybe they're like bored, like, after a while, they're like, when are we going to get to it? But whatever. I'm still shooting and grabbing shit left and right. Now that digital cameras exist, I'm rolling, catching reactions while people are just on break, like,
Brilliant.
yeah. So
That's brilliant. I love that, man.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I do remember, I always felt bad for you, too, when I've worked with you, because you are sometimes the director, the lighting guy, the cameraman. Is that always by design? Sometimes when you're at that level, especially now where you can you don't need big studios as much anymore. Was that by design in the way that like it was just easier to control everything and budget, or was was this like I can't help it, I just don't have the money to pay for extra people, that kind of thing?
If I could afford a cameraman, I would. I'd still want to DP it because of the art in it, and that's
Sure.
like I enjoy that, But I would also like to work with a DP. It's just that they get expensive. I had worked with somebody who trained me originally as a DP, the guy who I worked with, but it was just you end up like, oh right, I got to learn how to deal with egos. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's a thing. You know what I mean? And like, oh, so there's very specific. You got to hire the right people. You want like literally the same way you could have an actor who kind of throws a fit and whatever. Same thing happens with crew, which is kind of sucky, and it can kind of kill the vibe. But also I want to be able to shoot something, and it's hard when you're shooting somebody else's something like a music video or whatever, and I'm just focusing on the visuals, and I don't really because like if you do a music video, you want the band to have their branding and their music video. You don't get to control it. So it's like if I can have creative control, I'd rather be doing that. It'd be great to have cameramen that like somebody just hold the camera. I'll tell somebody where to put the lights and all that, but if you could just but that costs money.
It's hard because I also understand from a comedy standpoint, and I'm sure it translates to every genre, but I know in the comedy realm, whether it's video, podcasts, film, TV, whatever the medium, an editor can make you extra funny or make you unfunny, in my opinion. And I've heard that before because, with comedy especially, it's timing, it's cutting to the right thing, it's beats, it's everything. So I actually understand that whole like, I don't want control because I want control, but I also know like if I'm the one that's being funny, I know where the cuts go. So do you find it hard to kind of let go of that of different things for that reason?
Well, yeah. Wait, for which reason? For having a little bit of like, for
like in other words, I asked that like shit. Let me rephrase that. In other words, like I find that sometimes I am involved in a production where I'm on screen, I'm also editing, and I'm also doing some of the camera work because it's not that I want the control, it's that like, but I just know I know what's funny. I know when I'm trying to be funny. You know what I mean? Do you find that?
Thin line. What is this one? In the first draft, like that was a thing because I knew that I could try to get some. I knew I was going to look at the camera a certain way. I knew I was going to be able to do, but it's also weird directing yourself. And it'd be better if I had people who had never touched the camera before being camera operators. So I had to go back and shoot it, months later. Like, oh, we got to redo it.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I feel like everybody else's shots are great. They look beautiful. My shots are like, because I can't be in both. Like I'm behind the camera setting up, and whoever's sitting in for me, maybe they're shorter, maybe they got darker skin. It's not the same setup.
Yeah.
So by the time I sit here, it's a little bit like, meh, But I'd rather be camera operator, or I'd rather be DP at least.
Yeah.
And director, or have a good say in it.
I'm starting. So I over the years, I've probably got 4 or 5 scripts that are a quarter or half written, and that's a whole different story. That's because of lifetime and my ADHD and managing that bullshit. But I really didn't take the next step until I went back to school at Ithaca College for TV, film, radio, whatever, and actually took some screenwriting classes and things of that nature. In as far as like director of photography goes, one mistake I made when I first started writing scripts was that I was writing in the
camera direction.
The camera direction and what the director of photography would do, the DP. But I also found that sometimes there's a shot that I'm picturing in my head that is detrimental to the scene. Like it has to be that shot. As a writer and filmmaker, how do you balance that where you're like, when the DP comes on board, or during the writing process, how do you balance not doing all the work for them, but you want it a certain way? How does that work?
Well, so they say you're not supposed to write direction and all that.
Right.
Fuck that. I totally do.
Okay, good.
I write the movie I see in my head, and I want to get that across to whoever's going to be reading it. You know what I mean? A good DP will read it and go, okay, well, and maybe they'll have their own opinion. I haven't worked with world-class DPs yet, so I'll see how these conversations go, when it happens. But, it's, at some point I want to have Tom Hanks famously tells a story about when he was doing the Oneaters movie. What the hell was it?
Oh, that's one of my favorite movies.
That Thing You Do.
That Thing You Do.
Yeah.
That's literally one of my top 10 favorite movies, and I have no shame admitting it. I love it.
That's good. That's a good movie. It's a good movie. But he talks about how it's like his first time directing and whatever, and he has a great DP coming up. I think it's Tak Fujim. Whatever. And so he comes in. He has an idea of how to start the scene. He's like, we'll start on the chandelier, and we'll come down, and then we'll come on our guys as they're talking and telling the story. And then the DP is just like, he goes, why don't we wait and see what the actors do first? And he's like, oh, you mean like every time that we always do it, how it always works? And I'm like, oh, okay, but I feel like that was you should, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm upset, I'm going to have a problem with this DP now because I'm like, hey, fuck stick, I just said what was what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like, but but he's a writer-director in that scenario too. You would think, I guess, he went with it, but I could.
You made me feel better because that was my thing is as I'm writing these scripts, I'm not writing the direction in, but I see it in my head. And it doesn't mean I wouldn't be open to a DP saying, hey, good idea, but I think we should do it this way. I completely welcome that in any sort of creative project I do. Working with anyone else always makes me better. But sometimes you just see it in your head a certain way, and then I was kind of being told, well, you can't do it that way. You got to give it to the director of photography. So I'm glad that you too feel that way, that you can do it together.
It might also be why I shoot my own stuff now. You know what I mean? So I don't know how, but I mean, whatever. But to be open to collaboration and to have kind of discussions, like with First Draft, not to get back to that, but like, the beginning of the movie, part of my constraint was like, I'm going to be starring in it and the film's going to be on sticks, basically just like a lot of still me walking into frame, know? And I was like, I could change stuff digitally and have the camera push in. But then I was like, well, how about when there's absolutely no inspiration whatsoever, the camera stays on sticks. And then when there is a little bit of inspiration, now the camera starts to move, like whatever that is. And then slowly by the end of the movie, the camera's shaking all over the place. You know what I mean? But like, so to use it to my advantage, those are the kind of conversations I would have with the DP. And then like, so early in the movie when I first buy the car and I'm driving around, it's basically a camera in the back of the car and we're getting all the lighting and making it look pretty and, inspiration for a possible writer. Thank you. And then later on, when he's driving the massage girls around, it's all shot like the background is actually projected onto projector. There's a projector shooting onto screens to give like a subtle. You didn't notice, I know, but it's like a little noir thing, and it like even some of the lights in the background are a little more pixelated because it's a laptop, and you see the refresh rate a little bit going. You know what I mean?
Hey, no way.
So I tried things like that. So those are the kind of conversations I would have with the DP, and like if he's gonna come with a change, it's got to be thinking like that. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to have those kind of conversations.
So, and as far as your writing, one more dorky question. I love this stuff. In your writing process, now, another thing I had learned through, screenwriting in school was, the hero's journey, which I touched on, those kind of templates you can follow. As a writer yourself, do you kind of, because it is a feel, as much as it's like, I don't want to follow a chart. If you do follow that kind of format, it all does make sense in the movie world. But also a lot of times writing and shooting is a feel. Do you have that natural feel to the dynamic, or do you follow that kind of hero's journey? You know what I mean? Do you follow your own kind of a template when you're shooting, writing and shooting, or do you kind of stick to that kind of old school template?
I try now because I'm shooting with no money, and it's me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not worried about somebody else is writing the paycheck. I'm more willing to know the rules before you break them, kind of thing. You know what I mean? If I'm writing a movie about script writing or writing, in theory, your second act is supposed to start exactly in the middle of your movie, but mine starts actually a little over here. And then, so I tried to, play around with it. If I'm going to make these kind of bold choices, it's going to be on my dime and not somebody else's. That makes sense. So,
Yeah.
or like with the thin line, that short we shot was part of a bigger narrative, but that bigger narrative was like on purposely. I was like, well, I'm going to use a structure where it's like a non-linear, different kind of thing, trying to give you the feel of what it's like to be a bipolar kind of fucked up kind of person. You know what I mean? Like,
I love it.
Fucked up kind of person. That's the wrong way to say it.
Yeah.
But those kind of things. I try to go out. So, but then again, I've never been in a writer's room. I've never sat there. You know what I mean? Like,
you make a
different ball of wax.
Yeah, you make a good point that it's like if you don't have the budget, right, and you're kind of doing everything on your own dime, I bet it kind of makes you feel like it gives you the ability to have a little more cushion to go one way or the other off of that kind of format and do it your own way because it's nobody else's dime. Nobody else is going to review it and go, I don't like that. I want you to reshoot it. So it probably, right, it gives you a little more liberty to play around.
The first bit, remember I said we threw out the beginning when I first started shooting First Draft, it was a more traditional script. It was like a buddy comedy. I'm having writer's block. My buddy shows up and then, hey, you got to go live. Let's go do our thing. And then shit happens. But as I was shooting it, we were getting in. I had a bunch of scenes and I'm cutting it. I'm like, I'm bored of my own fucking movie. You know what I mean? Like, and then pardon my French. And then I'd be independent. I don't, it's a lot of people. I was just saying this the other day. A lot of people don't see real independent movies, because it's like the film festival circuit in New York or like basements of like bars and everybody's a student filmmaker or a young filmmaker. They're always, you should have a format of a script or whatever. But it's like when you take out the name director or the name star, you're seeing it for just the raw thing that it is. It's like, well, now I'm just bored and see the mechanics. You know what I mean? So if I'm gonna be a low budget indie filmmaker, I might as well try to take some risks and be different.
I love
what I mean? And maybe because we're so used to now, like we're just watching everything all the time, maybe the difference will be enough to engage people and keep them interested.
100%.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me give you an example. I'm not going to go way tangent, but whatever.
I love it.
So one thing I did in this movie, we're all used to storytelling and like TVs and the 3-act structure or rule of thirds.
Yep.
So one of the things I did in this movie was I purposely cut things like really nobody appears more than 2 scenes. So everybody, like your coworker, you see in one scene, you see him again later. Or he hires the escorts as he's doing the poetry, only 2 of them. And then the escorts he's driving around, there's only 2. And then, wow. I mean, the friend shows up twice in like big chunks, but I did give her a post-credit scene because, whatever. But the idea being, in theory, you should feel like you want a little bit more at the end because it's missing something because it is the first draft, if you will. So after I had that conceit, it was tried. Let's see what it does. I literally had it's an experiment. Screw it. Let's see what happens.
Dude, I absolutely love that. You put so much, and that's what I love about your style of filmmaking is that there's thought in every bit of lighting, every bit, every shot, everything. And, I do want to talk real quick about the massage girl. So in the film First Draft, I'm not going to give the whole synopsis because that's your gig. I don't want to speak out of turn. But one element of it is that here's this struggling writer who comes across as kind of a lonely guy, and he's meeting with these escorts who think they are there to have sex with him when he's actually just spending time with them and bouncing ideas off of them for his script, which I just think is brilliant. But something you just said earlier in this interview, the reason I'm asking this is, did you say this was based on a true event that happened to you? Were you driving around massage strippers?
I was driving strippers, yeah.
Oh, that must have been fun. Was that
you take them to bachelor parties or whatever, and then you see security or you'd be sitting in the car waiting for them safely. And then I had an incident happen where she called me, one of the girls called me freaking out. I was like, oh my God. So I go and the guy, it was the whole thing. One guy say, oh, she said she wouldn't go down on me. He's like, this kind of thing. And then literally it's a hotel room and they won't let her out of the room, So and there's 5 guys in there, all very well, I saw them walk in. I was like, they're trying to look at me scary. I'm like, I've seen guys that scare the hell out of me when they look at me and you ain't it, but I'm not a fighter. They don't know that. I'm like, whatever, dude. So I just banged on the door. I was like, look, I can call the cops and report a kidnapping. I don't care. I've done nothing wrong here, So they opened the door and let her out. But that wasn't what's happened in the movie because the movie I need, it's the old when you're stuck in a corner, screenwriting problem,
Yeah.
introduce a gun.
Yeah, well,
It's like a Hitchcock or somebody. Yeah,
that scene, I'm obviously not going to give away what happens in that scene because
There's no
to
spoilers in this movie. It's like nothing happens.
No, but dude, that is the moment. Like when you do the callback of what you said earlier in the movie, and it is so unexpected because it's such a tense scene. I absolutely fucking loved it, and I love the wedding ring scene. I thought you were phenomenal in that scene. I thought that was the best acting I'd seen you do. Few more questions here. Speaking of loving what I saw, one thing I noticed about your movies is, and when I worked with you on set, is you are very, and I guess every filmmaker is in some way, but you especially, you really take your time to work on the right lighting and obviously the perfect shot. And I thought the montage scenes of you driving around, I just thought were phenomenally lit. And that's tough to do, by the way, driving scenes. So kudos to that. Is there, when you're shooting a film, or maybe whether it's pre-production, production, or post-production, is there a favorite element that it's your favorite thing about the movie, the making movies? Is it getting the lighting right? Is it when a scene comes together? Is it the shooting? Is it the writing process?
I don't know. That's the thing about it. There is being on set, there's nothing like it for whatever. But making your own movie, it's even, it's 1,000 times better. But there is a little bit when that magic happens, when the perfect things come together at the right moment, or like, you didn't expect the actor to say, oh, whoa, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
That's great. You know what I mean? Like those moments are just amazing. But I'll tell you a quick story, going off on a tangent.
No,
but,
it's not a
part
tangent.
of the process. So in this movie, like there's a scene where, whatever. So I lay down and the girl lays on top of me. And like that was the scene. I was like, let's just do whatever. And then whatever happens after he wakes up. And then the girl came to shoot it. We're very awkward. Like, okay, whatever. Put a pillow here. Do the whole thing. But I was on the Atkins diet at the time. And my friends always used to make fun of me that I was like eating cheese with mayo. And there was mayo right there. And I was like, it'd be funny. And we started cracking up at the idea of how stupid that was. So.
Oh, you're talking about the dream sequence.
The dream sequence.
With
right.
I got you.
I was like, oh my God. So we cracked up at how stupid and funny that would be. And then we did it, shot the scene. I was like, oh, that's fun. And then she was with me here when we were screening it for some friends. And that part came up and it hit so hard. And like me and her just turned to each other like, yes, that's what it was about. You know what I mean? Like we came up with this idea together. We collaborated on this little thing that made us crack up hysterically. We can't wait to share this with other people. And we got to be there in real time while they laughed and saw it. It was great.
Dude, those are the most, you're absolutely right. And that happens because, as you know, I've also, in addition to acting and comedy, I had a band for a while. So I've also been involved in music production. And those things happen in music too, where you accidentally do something musically, but it sounds fucking awesome. And there's no better feeling. And that happens in movies too. And that brings me to my next thing I wanted to talk about. We have to talk about it. When we were shooting The Thin Line, one of the final, it might actually be the final scene we shot in, in was it Lawnwood or
Woodlawn?
Woodlawn,
just below Woodlawn.
Just below, so kind of like like where Yonkers and the Bronx meet, but it's this very Irish neighborhood, like off the boat Irish. There's pubs, people wearing European soccer jerseys everywhere, and it was like a Sunday night. But I don't know what was going on, if it was a soccer game or whatever. But there were drunk Irish dudes everywhere. I would love to hear your point of view. Do you remember what happened? Because I
remember them being like right outside a frame at one point, and you're acting like you're doing the emotional, like really hard scene, and they're like right there. You know what I mean? Dude, so yeah, I remember shit. Like it was crazy. It was.
We had to hurry and get this done. We were on a timer, and we really needed to get it. And obviously, it was dark. So
we didn't have any permits, by the way.
We didn't have any permits.
Around and faked a car accident.
And yes, so thank you for saying that, because what I was going to say was, not only did we not have any permits, it's a Sunday night in the middle of this, Irish neighborhood. Mm-hmm. It's a car crash scene where I have to get very emotional over this woman who's possibly dead. And we have these drunk Irish guys hooting and hollering from across the street. But what happened at one point, I'm in the middle, you yell action, and one of the drunk Irish dudes, there was a pile of garbage like against a building, in the
Oh
scene.
God, I forgot.
And
about
he just popped out of the garbage and went, hello.
Yeah,
And we're like, what the fuck? And then he started coming up to me, and I didn't know if he was going to fight me. And I just thought that was the weirdest but raddest fucking thing that's ever happened to me in any sort of creative production. But, people don't understand that, you see what you see on film, but you don't know all the magic that happens, or in this case, the insanity that happens off screen.
Yeah.
I love, man.
That whole thing was fun. Yeah, I remember Jasmine has a whole other night. Remember, she was, she came. She wasn't even in the scene. She came to be around and hang out. And then she ended up, like, going to the bar with the guys. And she made lifelong friends. Like, she went out drinking the whole night.
Yeah.
She had the whole other life for that night. But,
I'd love to hear that.
Wild.
That point of view. A couple more questions. I'll get you out of here. So as you know, as we all know at this point, the industry, the music industry, the TV and film industry has changed rapidly, and it's changing more and more day by day. What are your thoughts on what do you think has changed the most from your point of view as a filmmaker? And like, what do you see in the future of film? Any predictions or projections of, what's the best way to go about shooting film now? I mean, I guess that's a 3-part question.
Yeah. Well, shooting is the good part. So
because you can do it anywhere.
You have the technology. People can shoot on their phones. I say get a DSLR where you could use prime lenses. I shot this whole movie for a $200 camera and like $50 used lenses, prime lenses. So that's the good part. And the bad part is, streaming obviously has hit everything really hard. I guess people can watch stuff at home, but as a filmmaker, and I was just talking about this the other day, like seeing the thin line in a theater full of strangers that we did at the Contra Film Series is like, oh, I actually do know what I'm like. I know what I write for. You know what I mean? Like, I know my that's the thing. That's the mojus, So getting that communal experience, I don't know as an independent filmmaker how to do that now, other than film festivals or create your own shit. I mean, I'm in them. I'm in the New York area, and I'm in the live event space. So I could, in theory, on my next movie, work and promote and try to get people into some theaters on my own, like literally stage my own. I'm gonna have to, because I don't know any other way to do it. Like there's. It just seems like it's not the same as it used to be. Even just for this film, the original idea though was to go on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
It was supposed to be because they would do it like a 60-40 split, and like a month or two ago, I got an email from them saying your account's been active because I've been working on the movie, still editing the sound and doing what I can. And they're like, so we're not, we're canceling your subscription or whatever. You're canceling your account, and we're not accepting any new submissions from anybody we hadn't already canceled, had taken submissions from. I was like, oh, okay, thanks for nothing. But I appealed. They ended up sending me a link to a bunch of aggregators, which is what I could do before anyway. So that you shoot your movie. You go to film festivals, you try, but that's expensive. It can get pricey. Try to get some laurels, and then you can go to film aggregators to try to get on platforms. But I would try to find some way to screen it at least to get that feeling for yourself as a filmmaker. Try to get a little bit of money back if you can, but I don't know that that's going to happen, like unless somebody finances your shit. So, it might be the kind of thing now as a future, the filmmaker, you'll get paid for, like, you'll work out your rate for the days that you actually work on set, or the things you do, and then that's it. There's no back end. I can't see it happening. I don't know. I don't see it.
Yeah, I gotta say though, it's almost a blessing in a way that you hadn't graduated yet to that level of working with studios and having a full crew, because now even major films, everybody's doing things on their own, and you've always done things on your own. So you're kind of a step ahead, because you're like, this is how it's always been for me anyway, where I kind of had to do everything. So
that's why I feel a little bit better, like knowing AI is coming and people can do their own shit. Like, you're right, but I can still do everything on my own. I got to worry about, you know what I mean? That's the good part.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So one thing I wanted to ask before we go is that, so when you had sent me the link for the movie First Draft, your feature film, which please check that out, as well as his movie The Thin Line that I'm in. Little plug there. When I was watching, one thing I learned too over the last few years was there's a difference between watching a movie and screening a movie, right? Mm-hmm. And what I learned is that, like, a lot of times people in the industry, they screen a movie, which means they pay more attention to, like, the kind of shots, the lighting. So because I knew, because this is part of my life is this industry, I was screening a little because I was dorking out, looking at all. I wanted to talk to you about the lighting and things of that nature, but I also wanted to enjoy it. For someone like you who's a filmmaker and has done it his whole life, how do you balance that when you watch movies? Is it impossible for you to not screen a film when you watch it, or can you like sit back as just a viewer?
My own film or other people's?
Other people's films or yours, both.
It depends on the other people's films. Like, I mean, I try to suspend to disbelief. I check out, but if it's something that I can't help but notice, I can't help but notice it.
Yeah.
Especially like when I see trends, like now the blues and yellows, which I even been doing here, but the blues and yellows and the ambers and like certain color tones take me out of movies now because it's like somebody got a memo or they learned a YouTube tutorial and everybody's doing it, you know?
Yeah.
So things like that kind of get on my nerves a little bit, but mostly I try to go in, especially if I'm in a theater, I want to enjoy it. I want to be take me where you want to go. You know, I want to have a good time. Sometimes I walk out feeling like crap because, wow, I'm nowhere near that good. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I think
I'm not there yet, or I don't have that budget, or, you know what I mean? Like, and sometimes I'm like, what the fuck? Why am I not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know. Real quick, 2 or 3 rapid fire questions. Your favorite director of all time, your biggest inspiration. Do you have one? Or 2 or 3?
Yeah. I mean, I'd have to say the Coens, but Linklater, because he was like a direct response. I mean, a direct influence on this movie, and Tarantino. Yeah. Every time before I direct, I watch 2 movies, either the night before or the 2 nights before. Pulp Fiction and Good Will Hunting. How about that?
Hell yes.
Good Will Hunting, the last half is like, oh, perfection. Anyway.
It is. It really is. Is there a perfect movie in your eyes? Was there ever a perfect movie you watched where you're like, that was as close to perfection as possible?
I mean, I love Pulp Fiction to me is great. I don't know, Shawshank.
Yes. I was just going to say that. Shawshank really is, man.
But define perfect, because Miller's Crossing for me, I could watch. You know what I mean? Like it's something that not everybody likes, but I'm like, ooh, yeah.
All right, and this is a tough one to ask because I guess it depends on the style of movie and what you're going for. But just for the sake of fucking doing this, dream 1 or 2 actors or actresses that you would like. If someone was like, you can pick whoever you want, no problems, whoever you want to be in your film. Is there an actor or actress or a couple who would it be?
On my next movie, you mean, or
sure, like on your next movie, who, if you could just pick of the litter.
Are you fishing? You want me to say you? I'll say you.
No, God, no! Don't say me. I would be honored, but don't say me.
I honestly don't dream that big at the moment because I don't want to get disappointed. The last one I did was the next film I was going to be doing, which I wrote. I still haven't approached the girl. She's literally like an internet pop star person, but because the idea originally was, and it's not probably going to happen this way now, because the Amazon Prime split, she had like 3 million followers on TikTok. It's like, shit. I can get funding for a movie and whatever. And she's gorgeous and she could sing and she's got a thing. Yeah. And that was the last time I had somebody in my head, but it was because they were reachable. I knew somebody who knew somebody that I could talk to her. So I can't even imagine, like, in terms of, would I want to work with Brad Pitt? Probably, because Tyler Durden fucking rules, Would I want to work, with, I don't know, anybody? There's just too many. I would just take whoever,
I know, it's kind of a hack question, but I'm curious. I wanted to know. Listen,
I would love to work with you again at some point, for real, though. But
I'm in. I'm in. Let's do it.
I have a budget.
Absolute last thing. Talk about you're involved in lighting. I see a lot of times on social media you're posting. It seems like you work at like a nightclub or some sort of venue where you're light designing for shows. How did you get involved in that, and what is it that you do?
Well, I do lighting. Well, I got into it just by happenstance. I knew somebody with a bar back at the Gramercy Theater, and
nice.
it got me into an interview. And because I was a filmmaker, when I did get some stagehand work, and then as I was there, I gravitated toward lighting guys because I knew lights. I knew how to point lights at things, and that was like my area of expertise. And then it became like I would, you're basically there. You're operating for different shows at Irving and Gramercy Theater. You're like, one day is Dave Chappelle, the next day is any comedy people or a metal band, Cypress Hill. You're there. Sometimes they have guest LDs come in and you help them patch in and light bring in their set, or you're the guy doing it. So you got to sit there and do a show. And then what I found out was like the real money's in corporate work where it's like fundraisers or ballroom crap, and you just set up some lights and some up lights and make it look pretty. And that's where the real money's at. So that's what you got to do. But the fun, good stuff is still in these clubs. Now I'm doing the hip spot is Brooklyn, where it's like artists that I don't even know. They're all, when I tell young people, they're like, oh, I'm like, really? I don't know. They have like a guitar and a laptop and they're killing it. But some of that music, like that techno music, that's not my cup of tea. But I fucking love lighting it now. It's like it's like an art of its own. It's like, I'm sitting there like doing my thing.
That's what's great, because your passion is filmmaking. But when you can find a job that is still in the same industry that pays the bills, that's it right there, because it gives you the time to still do what your craft outside of that, and you're still kind of doing stuff that is involved in the entertainment
You're in production,
world.
You know what I mean? You have some, production work, and
absolutely,
and it keeps you in that shit.
Is Brooklyn still like the hip spot, like Williamsburg?
Yeah, although we just had, I mean, no politics, but let's say when tariffs happened, our business got hit hard, and maybe like in the last couple months, like a cluster. I just saw an article, a cluster of like clubs over there shut down. Not the ones I work at, but it's I think it's a ebbs and flows kind of business always. So
yeah, I'm starting to see live venues. There's a concert up here at a venue in Canandaigua. It's called CMAC, and I was trying to get credentials for us to go there and shoot. And when I looked at who the promoter was, it was the Bowery. So I'm like, holy shit, it clicked. I'm like, so these venues, not just in New York City, I'm sure everywhere, venues are actually branching out and not only hosting shows, but they're like promoting shows that aren't even within 150 miles of them just to make money. So, I mean.
Yeah, they promote out to other, even I'm calling them mom and pop venues. They're not the Bowery. They're not Live Nation. Even that, they started doing that because that's where, you got to get out there. So,
yeah. So listen, give me the plugs as we head out here. Where can we find The Thin Line, First Draft, Back on Clock Productions? Give it to me.
Well, First Draft is, and really all of it right now is just edwardcharrette.com. Edward, E-D-W-A-R-D,
we'll have that up on the screen.
CHARRETTE.com. And it's really right now a private link like I'm doing. It's really kind of the honor system. I hope nobody steals my identity or screws me over. But, I have like my phone number, my email up there, whatever. You $5 to rent it, which is really just a YouTube link, $10 to rent it and download it, which is the download Google link and the rental, and then $20 gets you that plus good karma. And really, that's it. But it's to keep it private because I am still submitting to festivals. So I'm basically I'm doing like a fundraiser people get to see the movie and that's cool, getting some feedback. And then I can help, it's like, $90 a shot to submit each time. And there's thousands of film festivals around the world. So it's helpful. But
Ed, I love you, man. You're my cousin. I forget how. I think are you my second cousin? You're my mom.
Honestly, I don't know. That's the thing. So all I know is what my mom was like. You should work with Mike. She kept saying, "You should work with Mike Brindisi. He's like a singer and an actor."
My mom was like that back in the day. She's like, "You should work with your cousin Ed." I was like, "Okay." I think it was your mom was my grandmother's sister, right?
Your grandmother's
Anne.
Yeah, okay, Anne's
sister.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So we're like whatever cousins. Once removed, twice
so
removed.
I'm technically, how's it work?
I don't
You're my nephew cousin? My cousin
sure.
nephew?
Yeah, I'm your nuzzin, your nephew. I don't fucking know.
Your nephew.
No, but it's an honor to be related to you, man. I love you. I love what you do. Edward Charrette, filmmaker, author, lighting designer, and my cousin. Check out The Thin Line. Check out First Draft. And I'll talk to you off the air to make sure what we can put on the screen, but we'll put the correct links there to go check him out. Back on Clock Productions, Edward Charrette. Ed, thanks so much for your time, buddy. I love you.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. Peace out. Love you too.
Yeah, man.
Peace, guys.
All right, Mike Brindisi from Good News York, sponsored by Ads on the Go, getadsonthego.com. We will be back tomorrow. We have a very special guest coming in the studio, and I will leave it at that. It is somebody that Matt wanted, and she is phenomenal. So we will be having her on tomorrow, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for watching Good News York.